Hey, what's up, guys? Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I want to talk through Afghanistan. I'm going to talk through this, just one story. I'm going to just pull one of these. I've got a couple that I sticky noted a while back. I just kind of want to give an idea of what it was like in 2010. That's just a normal dude in Afghanistan. Now, I'm not special forces. For those of you know, OT, did some security stuff, play around a little bit. And I just want to take a moment to just kind of, some people ask what goes on. And I don't want to say smart enough. I don't really want to take credit. I'm sure it was someone else's idea. But I kept a mission log for everything I did on the deployment by times. I also kept a diary, and they actually correlate very well together. And one of these days, if you're lucky, maybe I'll do another story if you guys like this, and I'll show you exactly how one of these missions correlates to an actual journal entry, so you can see how I was thinking at the same time it happened. This is very interesting to me. I was 20 years old when I was writing this stuff, and on the adventure of a lifetime. In fact, if you read the beginning of my journal, which I just did, I'll tell you it was the adventure of a lifetime, but I digress. This was mission 24, and it says, mid-brief, I'm going to take all the names out, just use the ranks. Mid-brief, Master Sergeant told Lieutenant the mission was canked. Instead, we are going to take the battalion commander up to Sangin, 3-7 India Company's old FOB, which is now run by the Georgians. In this time between, this was when 3-7 had just left, and 3-5 was inbound, and they hadn't gotten there yet. So the Georgians are still in control of this little FOB for at least the time being. Convoy commander is lieutenant, assistant convoy commander is a staff sergeant, and the security team leader is none other than our sergeant, Sergeant Busick. Now, the loadout goes at 06, manifest call is at 04. There are 11 vehicles, 33 packs, which is persons, and security vehicles are 1, 2, 6, which is the convoy commander, 10, and 11. I'm going to find a spot to sit down here. Alright, apparently I forgot to delete some of the footage off my gimbal, so it filled up very quickly. Alright, so at 06:55 we depart friendly lines. 08:25 there's a short halt for load checks. 09:40 Vehicle 7, the assistant convoy commander, hits an IED in a wadi. Now, a wadi is essentially like a dried up riverbed. They're all over Afghanistan. Okay? So that's 09:40. At 1100-ish, a medevac bird flown by Air Force PJs lands and takes off with the staff sergeant, who had a compound fracture on his right shin. And we later found out that he ended up losing his leg. They did a lot to try to save it, but there was basically nothing left. So he ended up losing it years later. Me and 3 others carried the litter, which is a stretcher, to the bird helicopter, and we ran off with him. And you'll see in my journal, as we're loading this guy onto the plane, he's got a cigarette in his mouth, he's strapped down, he's just ashing all over his chest, and he says, "Can I get a cigarette?" And so we gave him a cigarette. He ashed all over his chest, whatever. And then as we're loading him on the bird, he goes, "Call ahead and tell him I want some pizza. I love pizza," or something to those effect. I have it with a direct quote written in my book, but always thought that was funny. How he must have been in shock, but he was just so calm. Vehicle 6's mine roller broke. The left 5 wheels just fell off. So now we're recovering everything. The assistant convoys commander, the mine roller on the truck is somehow still good, despite the 7-ton having been blown up and completely destroyed. The mine roller was fine. So clearly the mine roller did not do its job. And so they mounted that one on the convoy commander's vehicle in replacement of the busted one. At 1400, we mounted Vehicle 4, LVSR is where we mounted the mine roller. We chained it down well, hopefully, at least I say hopefully, because it was me, a lance corporal, and the sergeant major who bound the mine roller to the truck. So if it sucks and falls off, sergeant major helped me, so whatever. 1440, we had to stop and rebind some other shit on Vehicle 4 in order to keep the convoy rolling along. 1500, we start moving again. At 1600, we make contact with a blown-up Navy convoy. Their wrecker is on a trailer blown up. Oops. And they needed our help recovering a blown-up mine roller, so we helped them out. And then 2 hours later, we're Oscar Mike again, means on the move. 1900, we finally enter friendly lines at the India CP, which at this point is run by the Georgians. Now, I distinctly remember, this isn't in here, I think it's in my journal. I distinctly remember that night we are sitting at this fob, doing our thing, and all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. And essentially what we found out later is that the Georgians had kicked what they thought was a Afghan National Army spy off their base, told everyone, if you get within 1,000 yards, or 1,000 meters, or 1 kilometer out, then we're going to shoot. So stay away. Their commander, their battalion commander, had just been shot like the week prior. They're a little on edge, but the Georgians are pretty trigger happy anyway. And I guess Shepard had gotten too close, so they lit up his herd. Oh well. So that's at 1900. 0530, the next day, we changed internal frequencies. In 06, we departed friendly lines with 6 vehicles and 19 packs. We arrived at the bridge site, and then we hung out there until 13:55. So we were trying to ford the water to make sure it would work for building a bridge there. Did all kinds of crazy stuff that day. In fact, I got stuck coming up a mountain and almost rolled down a hill with my with a bulldozer having to pull me up. At 14:20, vehicle 2 and 5 get stuck. Vehicle 3, LVSR, pulls out Vic 2. Random 7-ton, not from our convoy, pulled out Vic 5. And then at 14:30, 7-ton couldn't get it. Bulk fuel is tossing a wrecker our way. Vehicle 2 is slaving, meaning jump starting Vehicle 3. Hopes it'll keep charge long enough to make it to the COP, which is like a smaller version of a FOB, or a forward operating base. It's a combat operating post. The alternator's dying. So essentially in the span of the day, we broke a bunch more trucks, had more trucks dying. 1600, my truck died due to bad fuel. LVSR died. We both had to get pulled up the hill by a dozer. 1650, we entered the friendly lines. 705, depart friendly lines, 10 vehicles, 28 packs. This is heading out the next morning. This is where it gets fun here in a second. My journal entry on this, surprisingly, is not excited at all. It's like, this is what happened. Pretty emotionless, given what's about to go down. So we halted at 7:20 because the COC messed up some paperwork. And then at 7:45, so 25 minutes later, we must have only been outside the wire, outside the base for like 15 minutes. Vic 2, which is me, hits an IED while going to charge Vic 4's batteries. At 0810, Vehicle 1, Sergeant Busick hits an IED while sweeping to the wrecker to get to us. So both the lead security vehicles blew up in the span of, I don't know, what is that, 25, 35 minutes? And then we towed it back to the FOB. We just called it quits and went back. The LVS got stuck on the hill because named a guy can't drive, and we had to use an MATV to pull it back up the hill, which is pretty funny if you think about it. One of our biggest truck couldn't make it up the hill, so we used the smallest truck in the convoy to pull it. Mine roller we brought. We had to rebuild a mine roller in order to make it because all of ours had gotten blown up. So September 21st, I hit my first IED. Yay! Next morning, we depart, and then 35 minutes later, I say, the fun begins. I had to pull Vehicle 4 up the LVS, or up a hill. Yes, I pulled the biggest vehicle we had, me, a 4x4 truck with a mine roller on the front, and then I said, I'm a boss. Then Vehicle 3 pulled it up the hill, the next hill. 0740, I hit a ditch and both wheel sets on my mine roller snap off. So mine rollers have it's like this big a round pin that holds them in place so the wheels can spin. And I had hit a ditch and they dropped down, and the mine roller, it hadn't been able to roll up the other side, so it snapped that pin on both of them. It's pretty crazy. So that was one of our only remaining mine rollers at this point after all the IEDs, and I broke it. And then we started rolling again 2 hours later. And then I wrote in here 920. Vehicle 3 pulls 4 up another hill. 923 and another. 930 and another. 10 and another 4. So clearly this vehicle had no power left in it. At 10:45, did some more load checks, rolled out again. And then Vehicle 5 hits an IED. Now, I can't confirm I didn't put who the driver was on this one. I'm fairly certain this is my buddy who I work with right now. I'm not going to name him, but if you're watching this, Ski, there's your short name. I think this might have been the one you drove over that they never gave you a combat action ribbon for. I don't know. Vehicle 6, LVSR dies, so Vehicle 17 is charging it while the wrecker is rigging Vehicle 5 for tow. There were 5 80mm mortars discovered, and only 2 of them are detonated, so 3 of them were live. Tried to convince the battalion commander to let us blow them up. He wouldn't, so we just pushed out, marked them. At this point, we didn't have resources to sit and wait for EOD anymore. All our trucks were blown up or broken, our mine rollers were broken. So then we do some more load checks, charge the vehicle again. Broke another piece of a mine roller, had to use a wrecker to fix it. The weights fell off, and 4 of us couldn't pick up the weights, so we had to use a wrecker to pick it up. At 5:05 or 17:05, halted on Highway 1, having transmission problems for one of the vehicles. Wrecker is rigging for tow. 1840, halted 2 kilometers from entry control point. Slave Vehicle 6, and for the wrecker to adjust some shit on Vehicle 21, which it's towing. And at 1940, we finally enter friendly lines, Camp Leatherneck. 108 hours. Look at that, huge font. 108 hours. One mission. It's supposed to be a 1 day up, 1 day back. That's how Afghanistan was. Now, that's just one random mission. I mean, I got all kinds of here. I'll just open to it. Tell you what. Look at this, the very back. Oh, I wrote in some stats. What? Oh, that's right. I kept logs. I kept stats of all my trucks, starting mileage, finishing mileage. So I completed, the final tally is 100 missions, 2,615 miles, and 1,149 hours of missions. And in that we had 10 IED strikes, 2,518 miles, 2 flipped trucks, 2 wounded in action, 2 killed in action, civilian dump drivers for Afghans, 1 medevac, 3 IEDs that we found, and again 10 that we blew up. Small arms fire. I'm sure there's some more interesting stats in here if I dig around. Anyway, point being, even normal people had some fun out there. I don't know. Anyway, so that's a little bit my background. Been almost a decade now. If you guys found this interesting, or you want to hear more about some of the stories, I mean, I've got my journal has some pretty interesting quotes from the deployment, some funny stories. If you want to hear some more about that stuff, let me know. Comment down below. Either way, hope you enjoyed this video. A little bit of vulnerability, just being transparent. Have a great day. Oh, don't forget to subscribe.